A Florida State University program in interdisciplinary computing production. What's interesting about designing for the web is, there are all the visual aspects like you have when you're doing page layout for a glamour magazine or any kind of magazine. You have all the visual elements, and you have things like margin sizes and line heights and font types and how you lay the page out. But there are all kinds of additional considerations because you're dealing with, because users approach it in a totally different way. First off, it's not on paper. That in itself makes a big difference on how you design it. But also, users interact with it, right? It's not a static one-way method of communication. It's interactive. And in its most basic form, it's interactive because users click things to work their way through some type of a learning path or information path. And so in that way, it's interactive. You have to figure out how to guide your users through this two-dimensional structure. In a magazine, it's very linear. You just flip the page. It's sequential. On the web, it can go all different types of routes through your information. So that's what makes it a whole lot different. In this chapter, we talk a little bit about wayfinding. Wayfinding isn't just on the web, but it's in geography as well, finding your way around places. These are the elements of the built environment that allow us to navigate successfully through complex spaces like city, towns, and the web. With cities and towns, we have street signs. We usually have city blocks that run in a north, south, east, west fashion. Some cities, like this one, aren't that way. And there's neighborhoods around Tallahassee like that as well. Have you ever driven through Killarn Lakes? There isn't a straight road in that whole subdivision. I've been lost in there many times. When you lose the right angles of intersections, and you start curving around, you start losing your perspective and where you are and what direction you're heading. It's very easy to get lost. But what can you do? Look up at the sky, see where the sun is. There's ways to find your direction in geography. In the web, there is no such thing. You're navigating through all this stuff. There's no compass to show you the right way to go. So we'll find that as we do wayfinding and web design, we have to give users huge billboards that say, you are here, where do you want to go from here? And really make that stand out. So we're concerned in wayfinding, not only in cities and the web, about orientation. Where am I right now? Route decisions, or do you say route? Can I find the way to where I want to go? Mental mapping. Are my experiences consistent and understandable enough to know where I've been and to predict where I should go next? And closure. Am I in the right place? Am I there? Is this what I need? I like this quote from our author. He says, print designers and editors often chafe at the heavy interface framing of web pages. Do we really need such a burden of headers and footers and buttons and links? Well, yes, we do. Without that navigation interface and all of the you are here markers it provides, we'll all be back to that lost in space feeling that was so common in the early days of the web. So, some of the things we use, paths and breadcrumbs. And I was so proud of myself when I actually found a web page that had a breadcrumb to a breadcrumb. So this is some grocery site, and obviously it's not in this country anyway, because that's the UK. But I had to go far to find this website. So, this is the page for shake and bake and breadcrumbs, right? The last arrow, the last line there, all of that kind of stuff is in this section. And this section is within the packet mixes, which is within the pantry items, which is in the general groceries and the U.S. groceries, which is from the home page. So it shows the path you've navigated to get to this place. Not only that, each of those divisions up there would act as a link to allow you to jump back in your history. So landmarks along the way. And also larger sites should be able to kind of use design elements to create regional boundaries so that you can tell what section of the website you're in. If all the pages look identical, it's hard to tell where you are within a large site. There's this problem sometimes called the Times Square effect of overloading a page with too much navigation, too many choices, and too many options. You want to keep your main welcome page and your main heading pages rather simple and let people drill down through menus. So paths, we need to create consistent, well-marked navigation paths. Regions, create a unique but related identity for the regions in the sites. Nodes, don't confuse the user with too many choices on home or major menu pages. And landmarks, use consistent landmarks in the site navigation to keep users oriented. It's rather interesting. It turns out about half the people that use the web prefer finding things by looking through lists of menus. The other half of the people, when they get to a page, they go directly to the search box and type what they're looking for. So which are you? Menu people? Think about it, menu. Keep your hand up there. I want to count about half. Okay. People that like to go right to the search? It rings true. This is the first semester. It's rung true. I happen to think it has a generational impact there too, but I'm not convinced of that. I tend to, working with students, I find the younger the person is, the more quick they go to that search, search for everything. And I actually got in trouble with this because students would try to search for my course, and instead of going to FSU's webpage and searching, they would just go to Google and search for my course number. And they were coming up with syllabi from 8 years ago for my course and saying, "Oh, are you still how can I sign up for this course?" And I'll say, "I never even heard of that course. Where did you get this name?" They say, "Well, it says you teach it right here." And I say, "Oh yeah, that was like 8 years ago. I have no idea how you got that." So that's why I recently went through my FSU website and just cleared everything out. I got rid of everything and shifted it over into a backup folder off the web, out of my HTML folder into my main folder, and I just put just the pages for this semester there, so nobody can find anything from my deep dark past. So we want to support both these users, right? We want to give them good menus, good lists, and good search capabilities. URL markers, we'll talk about this, but oftentimes these are included in the header of the document. So you have your logo, your kind of visual identification in the header, along with tabs that show where you are and where you can go. What's interesting is people who do find your stuff with a search engine, they won't ever even see your home page. So they'll often just go straight to some page that's deep within your file hierarchy. So if you're a business, you want to make sure you're able to impress that person with your general business structure, not just things about that one item they discovered. And so that's why you kind of have to integrate all this stuff and give them a clear path back to the home page. And this just talks about where to put your search box. We talked about that last week. Headers, essential for both site identity and consistent navigation. We find that headers are the most important element. And what's really nice is you can just create a header and put it in one file and then read that header into all the pages on your site. We'll learn that later on in this semester, how to do that. But the header gives people your B level of options across the tab navigation, gives them your company logo, gives them the most important stuff, maybe a search box there. Avoid dead-end pages where it opens and there's no navigation to anywhere. It's just a page sitting there without any links from it. Make sure you minimize steps. So, and this is a balancing act. We said that you don't want to have too many menu items on your main pages. You don't want to give people too many options, but at the same time, you don't want to have them have to click through 8 different links to find what they want. So you have to find the right kind of balance between those two. You don't want your navigation to overtake the visual look of your page. You want the content to always take priority. So the focus is on the content, visible site structure, minimal navigation. Pages should load in less than 10 seconds. What's really nice is what's going to slow down your page load is the graphics you put on the page. And good graphics developing tools like the one we'll learn in here actually allow you to tweak images to get them to the right size and to the right quality to where they can load very quickly and still look as good as possible. So you can kind of tweak around with that to get the image where it's a passable looking image that'll load in 1 second. It actually shows you while you're saving the image. It'll say if you save it at this format, at this quality, and this size, it'll take 8 seconds to load in the web, in a typical web browser. So you switch it around a little bit, and then it says, okay, you're down to 4 seconds now. You know, you change it a little bit more. Okay, you're down to 2. Well, that's acceptable. They talk a little bit about page contents, typical page contents. I'll let you look at that. Folder tabs, tabbed menus are good for sites that have relatively few, 5 to 7 major navigation categories. Every web page needs, see if you agree with this, an informative title. That makes sense. The creator's identity, that's important in order to have credibility. A creation and revision date, typically down in the footer. Not all pages have these, but certainly if it's timely information you're providing that may change over time, it's important to give the date. Copyright statement, we'll be working on that on this assignment this week, I do believe. And at least one link to a local home page or menu page, consistent location on all pages, and a home page URL. Your logo, navigation links to the sections, at least one heading to identify and clarify the page, mailing address, contact info, and alt text on the graphics. And the chapter just closes with some enterprise interface, which basically says that you know, if you're working on a website for a corporation, you're obligated to use all of the corporate branding and incorporate that right into your website design as well, as IBM does. Any questions? Great. Go enjoy the day. It's gorgeous out there.
For more information about FSU's program in interdisciplinary computing, visit www.pic.fsu.edu.